Well, thanks for joining me today. I always appreciate it. I have 5 books I want to introduce you to, and maybe 4 movies. The first one I'd like to introduce you to is one called Dead Man Walking. Not to be confused with the other movies that are like that.
Oh, I know that writer, Stephen Patricia. Yeah, yes, I do know him too. You want me to tell you how? He, with Ryan Pure, wrote the book Paranormal State. In fact, if you're very observant, you know he's on the show. The last season of Paranormal State. Yeah, but there's no zombie babies in this book. But it's really cool.
No, you didn't read it.
Well, didn't you read it?
Yes.
Yeah. Does that mean I read it too?
No, why would it?
Boy, you're just so brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you.
A shining star.
True.
Dead Man Walking. Wasn't there a zombie movie called Dead Man Walking?
No.
Yes, there was. You're so stupid.
I think it was called Dead Men Walking. It's Dead M-A-N-N. It's the name of the zombie detective in the book. Now, if I've read those before, I'm sure you have too. They're not always that interesting. A lot of times they mix magic and all this stuff, and there's a zombie detective, and it's not very good. This one is different. I really like this guy. As he will tell you, he co-wrote the book Paranormal State with Ryan Buell. And he's actually in the 5th season of Paranormal State, if you want to see what he looks like. But I really like this. Obviously, it's the first volume. It's called a Hessius Man novel. Really good. I highly recommend it. It's very cheap. Now, $7.99 maybe as a Nook book. The second book, I did not know I was reading a children's novel. That's how good it is. I didn't know. It just seemed like a really intense book about kids in orphanages, basically. But after a while, it dawns on me that this guy, Ransom Riggs, his book, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
I don't like children's books. Miss Peregrine, her little home for peculiar children. You was a pretty peculiar child. Well, I guess so was I too. Oh yeah, it's okay.
Not only is it filled with very old photographs, he and his friends collect these things, and apparently what he did, he began to see a story that could evolve from just these apparently random old photographs, very unusual looking photographs. I think some of them have been doctored to a degree, as you see, but they're all inside the book. And as a Nook book, they're also there, which I really liked. I thought that added something to the book. But I did, obviously it's the first book in a series. You'll see when you read it. Really liked it. A unique story. He's not ripping off other people. He's not trying to become a contender for the next Harry Potter series. He just wrote a really, I thought, interesting book, which I liked.
Oh, The Walking Dead, Rise of the Governor. Was that written by the guy who does the comic?
The next one is The Walking Dead, Rise of the Governor by Robert Kirkman. Most of you know that Robert Kirkman wrote the huge, what is it, 2,000 pages something now, Walking Dead graphic novel, which I have read most of, and I really like them. Well, if you did, you remember The Governor. and I won't say much more about it, but if this book were just kind of a history of the governor, I think it would be a good book, you know, because I think Robert Kirkman is a good writer. But there's something different about this book, and I don't really want to tell you why. If you know the graphic novel, you'll see the stuff that's coming along as it comes along. Really good. I'm glad I bought this. I downloaded it, on, like I said, on my Nook. I really enjoyed it.
London Under. Ooh, that sounds like a murder mystery. How about sparkly vampire book? London Under.
The next one is not a horror novel at all. It's not even a novel. It's a non-fiction book by Peter Ackroyd called London Under.
What? It's not a scary book at all? Well, then why did you read it, stupid? Yeah, I don't think that's very interesting. No. In fact, just go on to the last book, because you're really starting to bore me.
If you have ever wondered what is under the city of London, the huge, massive halls and viaducts and pipelines and cities, really, under the city, if you ever wondered about that and you wanted to read something by somebody who really researched it well, you need to pick up this book by Peter Ackroyd. Again, I download all my books now by Nook, and I loved it. Just from beginning to end, I was even more surprised by what is under London than I even. It's like reading a fiction book. It's like a world underneath there, an amazing world, and a dark world and a smelly world too. Now we have the book that is deemed too violent for publication.
Oh, brother, is that a Harlequin romance? Ladies' Night? Who wrote it?
And of course, you know, pretty much who could it be but Jack Ketchum?
Jack Ketchum wrote it? He's a pretty scary writer, isn't he? But he doesn't write about zombies. Well, he wrote one short story about a zombie. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
But his book, Ladies' Night, is available now as a download. He wrote it apparently shortly after Off Season, his first novel published, and you can tell. Apparently a lot of people had a lot of problems with this book, and it really, really is an extreme book. I know that word is used a lot, but basically, just to give you a small idea without ruining it for you, because I don't like doing that, but a chemical spill, either a cosmetic or some cologne or some health and beauty product for women, spills in this town. Now, what happens is it makes the women of the town, it's kind of a cross between, well, long before 28 Days Later was written as a movie, but it's kind of like that and a mixture of that and Doghouse, which also, this was written way before that movie was even thought of, but it's like 28 Days Later meets, you know, Doghouse, where the virus, or whatever you want to call it, only affects women, and it makes them much stronger than normal, and it makes them very fast, and it makes them very psychotic, very murderous. Be careful, if you're real sensitive and you want to read a horror novel, this should not be your first one. This one is really, really hideous. Now I'd like to move on to some movies, and one of them is Apollo 18.
What kind of movies do you have today for me to look at? Apollo 18. Everybody and their man said that was a stupid piece of crap. Oh, well, I didn't watch it, and I'm not going to, because it's stupid.
I think you have to be very careful as a reviewer if you're going to slam a movie that you just don't make sweeping remarks like this is a horrible movie and the rock monsters in it were really horrible, because that's basically what I read about this movie, and it's simply not true. I really liked this movie. Yeah, it's not action based. I mean, from the very second you watch it, it takes a little while to build, but I really, really liked Apollo 18, and I recommend it. I thought it was great. It's a kind of a mixture between a science fiction movie and a horror novel. The second one gets special attention. It's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I had read that this movie had done really well on the, festivals, touring as a film in festivals, but I didn't know why until I saw it. Here is a movie, it's very rare to do. It's also probably the funniest horror movie I've seen since Shaun of the Dead, and that's saying a lot. But here's a movie that can be viewed completely differently from two groups of people's perspectives.
Oh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil? Oh, totally cool. Do they run into zombies? No. Do they run into sparkly vampires? No. How about a bunch of rampaging color kids like Eden Lake? No. Well then, why is it called Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
You have a group of teenagers who goes out in the woods, and that's usually the formula. You've seen that before. And then you have the two really friendly, nice backwoods guys that live there, and you view the movie from their perspective. And you have two absolutely different movies. And the interesting thing is they start doing like this, where they start mixing, and so you have both completely different plots starting to run into each other, and there are tons and tons of visual setups and sight gags in this movie. I had no idea this movie was going to be this good, but I really highly recommend Tucker and Dale versus Evil. The next one is one I read about, and I had to see it because it's very difficult to explain, and I'm not going to ruin it for you because I want you to experience the revelation of what I discovered by watching it. It's called Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. This is not Charlie Brown's Christmas. This is really, really strange. It's about feral Father Christmases, killer Father Christmases, in other words, or Santa's helpers, whatever you want to call them. I'm not going to say a lot about the plot because there's a few surprises that come along the line, but this is going to be the type of movie that's going to have a cult status, but it will spread by word of mouth because it's so bizarre and hard to explain to somebody, right up to the very ending of the movie.
Oh, a Christmas story. Oh, I love Santa Claus, but sometimes I wish Santa Claus was a killer. But he can't be, can he? He is? What's it called? Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. Oh, that sounds so cute. Is it like South Park's Critter Christmas? No. Oh, pretty cool. I want to see it. Okay? Maybe next year around Christmas we could get together. I won't eat you. No. And you can show me this movie. Okay?
I highly recommend Rare Exports. The last one is an animated film.
Oh man, I don't like cartoons so much.
Anime called Redline. I read a reviewer online that said this is what action anime is supposed to be all about.
What in the hell is Redline? Oh, brother. They're stupid. This movie is not stupid? Oh, really? or an animated adventure from Japan, or there's only about 3 billion of these shows. What makes this one different?
Went on and on about how interesting it was and how completely different it was from other movies. This movie has just got layers and layers and layers. Animated really well, very fast paced, sometimes so fast you can't see what's going on the screen. But check it out. Check Redline out. I think it's well worth it. I am somewhat of an anime fan. I'm not the biggest anime fan, but when a film really carves out its own ditch, you might say, I'll go for it. This one I did because it sounded so interesting. Thank you as always for joining me. I hope that you are turned on and turned off by some of the books I recommended and movies I recommended. But thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.